versus the United States of America. Well, both of these two teams are the leaders of Group D. Even though the USA is leading the pack with goal differential, plus they haven't conceded a goal at all, and they've scored 10. With Panama, I feel like they're better than the other teams in the group with Guyana and Trinidad, because obviously they beat them both. But they had a harder time versus those teams than the US did. That doesn't mean anything, because every single time you play a new team, they have some strengths that might expose your weaknesses, and you might not be as good as you thought you were going to be. So with the USA, they've actually played very good football. Very surprisingly, a lot of people thought they're going to be straight trash coming into the Gold Cup, and they haven't. They actually played fairly well. It might have been because of the new players that the coach ended up putting in fit the scheme better than the other players he had on the team. Plus, there's injuries, and then you get other players that take it more seriously, probably, which is why the USA has been doing a pretty good job. But like I said, they have only played Guyana and Trinidad today, who aren't as good as they were 2 years ago. So Panama has been doing a pretty decent job coming in. And when you look at both of these teams together, roster-wise, the U.S. has an advantage, but usually, I mean, if you take the day off, like Mexico just almost tied versus Martinique with a 3-2 score, so they're looking kind of like sluggish. So never play down to your opponent, because they're gonna bring you down to their level. So USA cannot let that happen with Panama. And Panama is a pretty decent team overall. Looking at both of the teams the games that they played, I would say the USA has been the most dominant. But like I said, any given day, anything can happen. The USA could be playing like trash next game and just suck, or Panama could just simply not be as good, and the USA destroys them as well, and then the USA goes ahead. So the important thing about this game as well is you don't want to sleep. Like, you don't want to be the worst team coming into this game, because then you'll end up playing the toughest opponent versus Group C, and that group has 3 different teams that might make it out of that round. Even though I don't think that any of those teams could compete against the USA, the only team in that group that's good, in my opinion, would be Jamaica. El Salvador is in there, and I think Curaçao is in that group as well. So those teams are going to be battling it out. Whoever comes out of that group is going to have a tough time versus either team in Group D. And I'll make sure to make a video when that comes up, because I mean, the Gold Cup is going to start getting good, meaning all the bad teams are not going to be present. It's going to be all the teams that at least have a win or two. Star power is going to be showing up in these games. The USA better get it together. I know the 2 teams that they beat aren't really that good. That's why I'm saying, let's not get carried away. But at the same time, they're playing better. They're playing as a unit. They're playing as a whole very well. But this is when the competition gets real, and Panama will be the USA's first true battle, because they're a decent team. This is where the decent teams are going to start coming up. So they got to take this game as an elimination game. So they got to play to win. There's no we're going to make it regardless because our goal different. We're good, so let's not try hard. No, you're going to have to compete, because if you can't beat Panama and you're seriously trying, then it's going to be hard to go against Mexico, and it's going to be hard to go against Canada and Jamaica, etc., etc. So you got to take this seriously. The USA has plenty of talent on their team. Christian Pulisic, Areola, Tyler Boyd, McKinley. These guys are seriously playing out of their freaking minds right now. They shouldn't be playing this good, and they are. So we'll have to wait and see how they do against an opponent such as Panama. So one thing about Panama is, I think they have scored 10 or 8 goals, but they've conceded 2. So against teams like Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana, that might not really be a good thing, because these are teams that aren't that good offensively either way. So if you're allowing goals like this to happen, then that's not a really good thing. The USA, in my opinion, the most overlooked thing going into the knockout round is they have not allowed one single goal. And to be honest, they'd only allowed one legitimate chance, one opportunity. That was against Trinidad and Tobago, when I think the right back was caught, sleeping on the job, and he didn't really notice the forward/left mid coming out of the side, and then the long pass over the top, which he ended up missing. So that was the legitimate only time that they've allowed anyone to get even close to the goalkeeper. So the USA is doing a good job. Underlooked stat: 0 goals conceded. The goalkeeper's playing well. The defense is playing well. Zimmerman is actually holding it down, which is a good thing because he's young. So imagine, like, with more experience, he's playing LAFC. So there's talent there. They have a pretty good team right now. So I like the fact that they're using players from the MLS, but they're also using European players. I'm still wondering if they're going to make any changes once they go in the knockout round, because the team's playing so well with the players that they have right now. So far so good. Looking into the Panama team itself, they're playing very well, but not as dominant, not as clear cut as the USA. So hopefully that takes them far in this competition. I feel like the USA really needs, if they can win this cup, they're going to shut up a lot of mouths, and there will be more respect for the US in the future, because missing out on the World Cup, getting eliminated by Trinidad and Tobago, does not look good, especially when you're the United States, being that you spend money on developing players, you spend money on all kinds of things, from when kids are small to when they're older. I think one disadvantage, though, in my opinion, when it comes to the U.S. and soccer, is you have to have some money to be able to play and be taken seriously going pro in the U.S. I think people with money, a lot of people that have extra income, what you don't really see behind the scenes is the amount of talent there is in the poorer communities of the United States when it comes to soccer. A lot of Latin American kids that might not have the money to join a club, so rather than joining the club, they join other sports, or they get into trouble. Some kids, they got too much time on their hands when they could have been playing soccer, or they could have been playing a sport, and they get into gangs and get into other stuff. So that's one of the things you don't really see in the US. So I would like to see a little change. There are some opportunities, especially some kids, they get late into soccer, maybe about middle school, high school, and that's how they start playing, and maybe they go into college if they're really good. But I noticed a lot of the kids that were spectacular soccer players started when they were really young, like I'm going to say about 5 to 6 years old, and just played their whole lives. And hopefully the U.S., makes a change in that sense, that they somehow make it where it's easier and accessible to play soccer. And it's a little bit more how do you say, what's the word I'm trying to say, economically sound, cheaper to play, because it's the same in Mexico. If you don't got money, man, it's hard to become a soccer player. It really is. Same thing in the US, but that's another topic. That's maybe something I should look into for the future. But overall, the Panama USA Wednesday night, it's gonna be on, man. This is the first knockout legit game that the US will have, and that's simply because the talent is there for both teams. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a like, leave a share, leave a comment, and like always, subscribe.